Welcome into Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Strange, joined by ESPN Houston's Joel Blank. Joel, welcome in. Let's talk some Rockets. Porzingis, Giannis, AD, three big wins for the Rockets. What can we take away from the Rockets so far going down the stretch?
Well, I think it's easy to say in this one, Brandon. The Rockets could play with anybody on a given night. I think they can play with the best in the NBA. When you look at the Vegas odds, the two teams in Los Angeles and the Milwaukee Bucks. Look, on a game-by-game basis, when the Rockets are hitting their threes, and that is a hit-or-miss proposition, but when they are making their threes offensively, they can play with any team in the league this year. Now, defense is another situation, and when we looked at those games, the one thing that was really glaring to me was how many times the bigs of all three of the teams that you mentioned were able to get rebound after rebound and putback after putback. The rebound differential was huge. That's something in a 7-game playoff series that consistently you're going to have to deal with, just like you have to hope that every night the others not named James Harden are making their threes. Because at any given moment, if they can't get the rebound, if they can't stop a 7-footer, or they start missing threes, they're just as susceptible to getting blown out of the gym as they are of beating one of the best teams in the league.
One of the others that's not on the court right now for them is Eric Gordon. How big is it that they're getting these big wins without the help of EG?
It's huge, and he's a big factor and variable because we don't have a super team this year in the NBA per se. We've got a lot of teams with two superstars. It becomes who's your third best player, and I think whether it's Robert Covington or Eric Gordon, and if one guy's off, you have the luxury of going to the other. It gives the Rockets a puncher's chance against a lot of those teams. But if Eric Gordon is out of the mix and Robert Covington isn't hitting his shot, now you got to rely on guys that don't have playoff experience like Ben McLemore or have playoff experience and didn't excel when they had it in Daniel House, as opposed to when the Lakers look at Kyle Kuzma or all the different options they have. The Clippers, who can go to multiple players to step up big for them, like Lou Williams, like Pat Beverly, like Montrezl Harrell. Celtics have 4 guys that can literally go one-on-one against anybody. Those are the kind of situations the Rockets are going to be in trouble in if Eric Gordon isn't able to come through in the playoffs and help their team.
I'll give you the Clippers having depth, but I'm not going to go that far with the Lakers. I mean, when they were without LeBron, they really just look like a very regular team.
Lakers' biggest glaring weakness to me is they don't have other guys that can guard the perimeter when LeBron's not on the floor. They don't have guard play with the loss of Avery Bradley and Rajon Rondo, and I think they're more susceptible than Vegas and everybody else thinks. I picked the Clippers at the start of the year, and I feel better about that because of their depth and the fact that they have talent and depth up front court and back court, not just up front like the Lakers.
Let's talk about perimeter defense, because when we talk perimeter defense for the Rockets, we look, really at Robert Covington because he's so versatile. He can guard in and out. How big has he been, and how much has it really helped him having that break, being able to gel with the Rockets?
The break was huge to get him acclimated to the system and to understand small ball, but also the rotations defensively that the Rockets have to do when they're not playing with any big men on the floor. The other thing is, how big is he? Well, he's 6'8", but he's having to play 7 foot. On the nights when he's playing a Porzingis or he's playing a guy that's a little more slight in build, he can actually do some good things defensively. But the bigger thing is he's going to be relied upon to guard bigs like Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee and some of the bigs the Lakers have, or Montrezl Harrell and Zubats and some of the guys the Clippers have, because between him and PJ Tucker, those and Jeff Green, those are the 3 guys that if they hold their own defensively, you got a chance. If they don't in the playoffs, no matter what you do offensively, in a 7-game series, I just don't know how the Rockets are going to prevail without him.
The Rockets are going to be ultimately judged on this season based on their decision to go small ball and to go, crazy small ball like few teams have ever gone before. What will it take for the general NBA public or fans to look at this as not a giant mistake? How far and how successful do they have to be for Daryl Morey to not be completely skewered over this?
I think they got to get to the second round, and they got to put up a valiant fight against whichever LA team they probably meet in the second round in the Western Conference. Because I think if you look at the scenario, Brandon, where this team was going with Clint Capella and not a bona fide third and fourth option offensively was probably a first-round exit, no matter how good they might have thought they were playing. I think that if you took on certain teams and tried to force Clint Capella and Biggs into the equation with the amount of time that Harden and Westbrook have the ball, I don't think that was a recipe for success. I think if this small ball gets you through the first round, and you look at it when they were going into the bubble as a 6 seed, if you knock off one of the top 4 seeds, I don't care if it's in the bubble or not, that's doing something. And then on top of that, if you can hold your own and make the series go deep, whether you win it or not against the Lakers or the Clippers, I think people have to tip their cap and go, hey, it worked. And it worked because you weren't going anywhere anyways. At least this way you had a chance, and maybe you won a couple of games that give you hope for the future. So I think that's how they're going to be gauged and judged. It's not going to be whether they, like the Chris Paul era, whether they got to the finals or not. I think it's a different criteria now, but I think they have to at least get through the first round and have a good run in the second round for it to be deemed a success.
Well, we can't wait to see how that plays out. Thanks as always for joining us.
Guys, don't forget that Fitz Roofing is your number one roofing choice in the Houston area. If you're looking for anything for your roofing, from a leaky roof to putting a whole new roof on your business or for your family, there's only one place to call. It's 832-521-3001. You get a free no-obligation inspection. It costs you nothing. They come to you and tell you what they can do. And then if you want them to come back, you get back in touch with them. But they have the best ratings in the business and do the best work. It's Fitz Roofing, making a difference, one home at a time.